Well, here's a little something that needs to be heard.
Keys to the 5, call my niggas on the cell. Bring some weed, I got a story to tell.
Unseen, welcome to the Unseen Podcast.
What's poppin'? Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the podcast. In the words of Biggie, I got a story to tell. That's to say, I got a story to share as related to the verses with Raekwon and Ghostface Killah. Now, one of the illest part about the verses, besides the nostalgic nature of the music that we grew up on, is the stories we're now learning about these music or those songs that really mark moments and times in our lives, right? Especially those that did not just, catch up to these records on YouTube, but that were there, right? It's a special thing. So those stories are really, really dope and appreciated to learn some of it. But with that said, I got a story to share. Why? Because I particularly work with Raekwon. Yes, I actually work with him. I didn't just do a record, just do a beat where I sent it off. I was in the studio. We worked together in person, live in the flesh. So I want to share a little bit of that story with you. And, just in the vein of continuing the celebration of our musical heroes or legends and so on, and those guys definitely fit those titles, man. They are a legend within the game. It doesn't matter who you compare them to as far as other legends, but bottom line, those are legends. So with that said, the highlight of the verses for me before I get to the story was this particular banger, a brand new Raekwon song that came at the end. And I'm going to tell you how that reminded me of that studio session that we had. But mainly, it came on and I was feeling the beat. And then I saw that Raekwon was stuck. He couldn't remember his verse, right? Funny enough, I get it. By the time that happened, they were already, a little bit drunk and twisted. So it was hard for him to remember the verse to a brand new record. But it took me back to the studio session that we had. You know what I'm saying? But before we do that, let me just play it for you so you see what I'm talking about.
This shit is so stupid, I forgot the fucking verse. Hey, yo, man. Play the verse, man, cause I'm twisted a little something. I turned it into something else.
Waiting for the vocals, people.
Yeah, no clue what's going on.
This shit is mean right here. I can't even remember. My mind is so many different places, man. But yo, we fuck with y'all. This is real. What's up, Darryl? You got it? Get here, go right here. Fuck it, we ain't waiting. I pull an umbrella, Uzi, and spaz, silence the gossip. This the odds will let the people say church. Hostile Da Vinci with the doctrine. Man, real, equal information. He's a moccasin. Cinema. Watch his top split. 40 is naughty. Stronger than an ostrich kick like Barra and Terror. Come on. I'm too high right now, my nigga. I can't get you. My Jerry look rough, kid.
Alright, here we go.
Here you go. So as you can hear, he's stumbling, fumbling, and mumbling because he couldn't remember the verse. You know what I'm saying? So that just took me back to the moment in the record that we did. You know what I'm saying? I think this record was done like 2000 or 2001, right? So that's 20 years ago. Ain't that something? So let me share the story with y'all. I did a record called Hallways. This record was originally to feature my artist at the time, Infinite Lee, my homeboy, the homie. I started out with him, period. You know what I'm saying? Draws was supposedly, working on managing him. And Draws, who is Draws? In case you didn't know, Draws is, rest in peace. He passed away. But Draws was the big homie to a lot of the legends, right? Particularly Nas, Mobb Deep, and a lot of other guys, right? So Draws was one of those, one of the homies that's been there, but, kind of been behind them dudes' support and, was kind of like the muscle, low key, you know what I'm saying? But good guy, man. I really liked him, you know what I'm saying? Showing me a lot of love and respect. But long story short, Draws' plan was to do an album for the BMI, the record company, or shall I say the music company, because they did more than just records, publishing and all that. But, excuse me, did I say BMI? I meant to say BMG, I believe. One of those, right? So he had a project he was working on, being friend with Nas and knowing everybody in the game. Draws was that man, believe it or not. And Charles pretty much took me under his wing to be a producer that he wanted to see the next dude that blow up, right behind Havoc, because Havoc was that guy as far as producers is concerned. But, beyond that. Anyway, Charles working on the project. He called me, hey, got a record that he wanted to do with Infinitely. Something happened along the way. It ended up being Littles. If you ask me, I think Littles just deboed and gangster that situation and felt like, yo, I got a situation that's about to pop off, so give me that record. And I guess that's what happened. So it became a Littles and Raekwon record. Long story short, Charles called me. I got dropped off to Queensbridge, rather Long Island City. Well, same difference, but not exactly in Queensbridge project, but by the train station. We had a low-key studio in the back blocks. You know what I'm saying? Showed up with my equipment, my drum machine, MPC2000, and my keyboards, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? We in the session. Raekwon came through. Fresh off I don't know if he came off the ferry or he drove. You know what I'm saying? Raekwon came through, let me tell you, no security, no homeboys, no Staten Island goons, no Wu-Tang goons. Just all Ray by himself. Strictly. You know what I'm saying? All right, so that aside, popped up in the studio, showed love, dapped it up, introduced myself. You know what I'm saying? He still introduced himself, you know what I'm saying? Even though I knew who he was. You know what I'm saying? Very cool and down to earth. And, kind of got straight to work after that. Everybody, chit-chat a little bit, but then got straight to work. You know what I'm saying? So I had a beat. Where that beat came from, and you're gonna hear, and you hearing it. In case you don't know, you will be hearing it. I had a beat that I did off of a movie. Now I had a VCR. Now, you may have heard the DJ Quick and Truth Hurts, who I ended up working with. Who is that? Truth Hurts was Dr. Dre's artist. On Aftermath did the song He's So Addictive and all of that stuff. I ended up working with her. But the reason why I'm bringing that up, that record had such a big lawsuit behind the sample in it. And the way that sample came about was that DJ Quick, West Coast producer, sampled that off of a TV on VCR. What's my point? Well, I've done that way before DJ Quick did it. So I was watching a TV movie somewhere and a theme kept playing in there with an organ. I'm like, yo, this just sounds so dark and eerie. So put the VCR in, the VCR tape, recorded it, and I took that 1-bar loop and I looped the beat right there, and of course, created the pattern, added the bass line and these other, those other instruments in there that you will be hearing. And that was the beat. So that's how I came up with the beat. You know what I'm saying? I was saving that beat. If you're a producer, certain beats you save it for a moment, and that actually worked out for my, in my favor. I played it to Charles. Charles was like, yo, son, I need that right there. I need that. Gave it to him. So when the right time came, boom, here it go. So we just got in there. Like I said, we in a session. Littles was ready. He had his verse and everything already on deck. You know what I'm saying? So that worked out. He knocked it out, went in there. You know what I'm saying? Now, just to let you know, because I'm gonna explain Raekwon process to you. Because Littles was ready, got that done in a couple takes, and it was clean and it's a go. But they had to go back and forth though. So Littles had to kind of go back and write a couple or switch his verses around. I can't remember if he wrote it over or if he just started splicing it to kind of go back and forth with Ray. But it worked out though. I think he did write a couple new bars in there. But it's only to say that once it was Raekwon's turn, this is what reminded me of that verses that I witnessed. Because of how Raekwon writes, or at least he wrote that song. He got in, heard the beat. Raekwon didn't get the beat prior. He had nothing new to write. He didn't he didn't have the beat prior to write. So he was writing it right there. And we had only but so much time to knock the song out and knock the session out. So he wrote it right there on the spot. But here's the thing. We had to punch in like every couple bars. Now, some people will call that kind of stuff the punchline king. Certain artists is unable to perform their work, so they have to do it in bits and pieces. What I think was happening was that Raekwon was just really doing it on the spot, and he wanted to be efficient in his mind that I'm perceiving this is how he was doing it. He would write 2 bars and go record that 2 bars. And he was doing that in the booth. So he's writing 2 bars, then write another 2 bars and record that. Then write 4 bars, then record that. So he didn't write a full 16 bars and then record it. He'll write every couple of pieces he's recording it. Now that's interesting, technically speaking. And I guess in his mind it worked because he's not wasting any time to memorize and recite. He like, if I'm writing, I'm spitting it. And now that I'm telling you that, I'm gonna play the record and you're probably gonna hear that. It may not register to you if you're not an engineer who's record, but if you've been in a studio and you've done that, you probably will be able to hear what I'm talking about. It doesn't sound bad, but I'm just trying to say you may be able to hear that, right? And the record came out dope. It's nothing bad about it. But, he would just write the pieces and then, boom, record it. So we had a hard time because he punched in so much. In those days, we weren't recording on computers. Computers were out. I was recording on Sonar, Digital Performer, even Pro Tools. I think the studio had Pro Tools 5. I think we up to what's equivalent to Pro Tools 18 right now. You know what I'm saying? So that was a long time ago, 2000 and 2001, right? But it was a 2-inch reel, all analog. So it was difficult to keep punching back to back. The studio was, the engineer was a little bit frustrated, but he was doing it, you know what I'm saying? And it just had to get done. But long story short, it got done. And, Ray did his thing. The verses came out dope. And at some point, like I said, Littles had to go back and forth with him. We did it, man. It came out such a dope record. The beautiful part about the record for me was this. I'm thinking it's going to come out when Draws is ready to drop the album and the album is completed. Nah, a week later, that record wasn't on the radio. Made my day. You know what I'm saying? Because that was my first record on the radio and my first major record with a major artist like that. You know what I'm saying? So I was so happy about it. And the beautiful part about it, the engineer, or when I left, when they mixed it later, that was one of the only records I didn't mix or I wasn't around to mix. They add that little part in there from Cash Rule. Cream. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. That lower part, I was like, oh, that drop is sick. So it was just such a dope record, man. So that's the story behind it. But like I said, the record was originally supposed to be featuring my homie Infinite Lee on there with Ray Kwan. You know what I'm saying? Nonetheless, it all worked out. You know what I'm saying? Things happen. They are what they are. But shout out to Draws, man, for making it happen. That was the homie, man. We actually ended up doing a few records. There's one I'm going to play for you. Off the album that he was working on, because he had an artist named Nicki way before Nicki Minaj. I'm going to play that clip for you shortly as well. But first, let me play that Raekwon and Little's record. This is Hallways.
A coward nigga, nigga died a thousand deaths.
Y'all niggas really know about the life of the streets, huh?
Brand new by Little, featuring Raekwon.
Yo, 4-4s and gauges, top locks get blown off hinges. Divide 20 into 160, vision of inches. Spinning out the hood into larger homes. Nextels and Motorola phones roaming the world. DVDs paint my life on 1,000-inch screens. Watch the pictures, trips and falls, rise through winters. I went from stubborn, thugging broke, now I'm wise and richer.
The game is a novel, bulletproof goggles and bitches.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Make sure keep flooding your watches, play in the crib, marinate, delegate gigs. I'm the old nigga feeding Goldie. Yo, I swear on my life and yours too, cousin. The old niggas be holding. Yo, chill on the bezels, getting big on all levels. Niggas is watching, money come from most of the devils. I seen that televised moment. Hey, yo, son, you dropped it, now you gotta move like
yo,
you grown.
Some say the good die young.
Why is that?
Cause the hood where I'm from, you either duck strays or tote max.
Squeeze
shout out to Power.
Sit back.
You now rolling in the arms of
Raekwon
vets.
the
Some say
chef.
the good die young.
Why is that?
Cause the hood where I'm
Big
from,
shout
you
out
either
to the
duck strays or
River.
tote max.
Squeeze round, sit them hammer, sit back.
Yeah,
You now rolling with the sounds of vets.
I'm straight stonkles on the grind, block reclining benches. The first time I heard Cream, I hit the block harder. 20s of this, 50s of that, ducking, dodging, weaving, deleting cracks, loped out off the tunes of bats. We move in many forms. Tim's hit the floor and sells crack. My only fear, you frail cats, cause when I squeeze, DAs and judges don't get a bail back.
Bill, y'all.
That's real, bill with your brothers. Use a young nigga fresh out, a meal's your mother. And yeah, the police is definitely working. They got their hats on, back with sun slanted style hurt niggas. That nigga right there telling. I heard his family whispering shit. We snitching on all the felons. That made us lamp like we larger. Fuck it, Benz is weak. We buying cemetery
some say the
arches.
good die young.
Why is that?
Cause the hood where I'm from, you either duck strays or tote max.
Squeeze round, sit them hammer, sit back.
You now rolling in the arms of vets. Some say the good die young.
Why is that?
Cause the hood where I'm from, you either duck strays or tote max.
Squeeze round, sit 'em, hammer, sit back.
You now rolling with the sounds of vets. Some say the good die young.
Why is that?
Cause the hood where I'm from, you either duck strays or tote max.
Squeeze round, sit 'em, hammer, sit back.
You now rolling.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Yeah. Now that was dope. That was dope. See, now look, as you heard this record, the one thing about it, you're not really able to tell everything that I explained. So that's the beauty of creating these records, right? If I never shared the story, you would never be able to tell that that's how the record was done. You know what I'm saying? But they did a dope job, man. Came out dope. And pretty much here we are. But I want to talk about verses a little bit because I was actually talking to my homeboy Narrator, who's from Staten Island, who mess with them dudes over there. You know what I'm saying? Him, shout out to Shaheem. You know what I'm saying? That's the homie. That's his homie. But pretty much he in the midst of all them cats over there. So we were having that conversation and we talked about the verses and seeing how it was such a low turnout on the live numbers on Instagram. So we were discussing like, yo, why was the numbers so low? You know what I'm saying? One thing, it seems like, yo, when it comes to New York rappers, the versus audience really kind of like are not showing the love that they show to other areas, or shall I say the other performers, right? It's like I think it peaked like at 100K and it was kind of like stagnant or staying like at 96K viewers. So it was pretty low in comparison with the other artists. Previously we had E40 and Too Short, right? I think their numbers were like 160. You know what I'm saying? And I say that to say when you compare to like Jeezy, they peaked at 1.8 million. This is the live. Of course, the total viewership, is about 9 million because they combine the Twitter, the YouTube, the other platform, and those views. And of course, they talk about the impressions. The impressions is how many potential people it reach, which is whatever. You don't even have to be there to see it, but it just reaches. So that the impressions are just fluff numbers, but they still valid in some regards. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, it's to say they had real low numbers, man, and they, it seemed like they weren't showing no love, as if these weren't who they are, right? These are, hip hop legends, man. Period. But as we discussed that, as we discussed that, one thing that I was kind of pointing to my homeboy Narrator is this. A shout out to Narrator. I'm like, yo, Raekwon and Ghostface weren't like big platinum selling artists on their own. So could that have reflect why the numbers weren't so big? Like their fan base didn't necessarily show up to really increase the numbers. But I'm like, at the same time, if you factored in these dudes had world tours, overseas, they always touring. And not only that, Versus is a big platform. When there is a performance or a battle, the people show up anyway. But I think what happened is once the other factor probably was the pandemic, is starting to slow down and people getting back out there. So I don't know. But again, the E40 versus Too Short, that one peaked at 271. So they doubled this Raekwon and Ghostface joint. You know what I'm saying? So is it that they ain't showing love to New York like Snoop Dogg once said at the Source Award? The East Coast ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. So what we saying is the verses ain't got no love for Raekwon and Ghostface. You know what I'm saying? Come on. But then I start to analyze the numbers. Nah, it's about normal. As I debated, like just a friendly, discussion with my homeboy Narrator. I'm like, they ain't necessarily sell a lot of units, so maybe the fans or the support ain't show up like that. But again, there's so many other things to factor in to question why the numbers were so low. But then I started realizing, man, we had some lower numbers. Because even artists that's of today, you know what I'm saying? One of the lowest numbers that they had was the today artists or the today performers. So when we looked at Swiss Beat and Timbaland, who started it themselves, have one of the lowest numbers of all time in verses. They only had 22,000 people that peaked, and that was up in March, at the height of when the pandemic started, because they kicked it off. And they already had one prior to that, so verses ain't new from 2020, because they had one like in the I think in the open and something like that, because there was another one, Just Blaze. But they only had 22,000. And then Boy Wonder and Hit Boy, who's hot on fire, producing everybody's album, just won the Grammy for Nas's album, that King's Disease, won a Grammy, whatever. but that one was actually the lowest. And that peaked at 18,000. You know what I'm saying? Then you also had The Dream versus Sean Garrett. Low numbers, 46. Neo and this other dude named Jonathan Austin. I don't even know why they, paired them up. But that was lower numbers than Ghostface and them, 80,000. French Montana and Tory Lanez should have had big numbers because they now artists of the time. And they only had 81. So when I looked at that, I'm like, nah, those were good numbers for Ghostface. I think it's just the timing and the publicity behind it. And, at first I thought that it wasn't a lot of publicity. But when I looked at it, all the major outlets pretty much talked about the coming battle between Ghost and Ray. Rolling Stone did. Pitchfork did. You know what I'm saying? Pitchfork did. All of them. So there was some promotion to speak. So I think it was just a matter of what it is. You know what I'm saying? It could be different factors, but I think the numbers were still respectable. And it's more to come. We're going to see what Method Man and Redman do next. You know what I'm saying? They picked a good date to do it, which is 420. And, everybody's about that chronic or that weed. So I think those gonna do, they gonna do good numbers. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, let me play this record, man. This was off of, again, this was off the album that I was doing with Draws. That is to say, I produced like a quarter of that album, right? Look, just to let y'all know, a lot of the major situations that I did when I came around, I wasn't playing with them. So if I got in, whoever was around the producer, the label or the exec or whoever it was, they pretty much put me on them, took majority of my beats for those projects. So I ended up doing 4 cuts. You know what I'm saying? One of them was with Big Noid, Mobb Deep. You know what I'm saying? I still didn't get a copy of that one because, again, rest in peace, Draws. You know what I'm saying? And, of course, he had this girl, Nicki. Before Nicki Minaj, she spit hard. You know what I'm saying? And we had Mike DeLorean, which was off of Bars and Hooks. If y'all know hip-hop, Mobb Deep was introducing the next duo like them, which was Bars and Hook. So Mike DeLorean was on this one. So you will hear him, because this is a snippet. It's not the full record. So what Drawers was trying to do is promote it a little bit to create a buzz. So he put the snippet out on the mixtapes. You know what I'm saying? So here's Nicki with about 4 bars with Mike DeLorean spit. You know what I'm saying? Check it out.
Bands up, pop a bottle or 2, fill your man's cup, drunk, let your ring shine, swing your duty. Spaz on them bitches at the bar, acting bougie. I hate groupies, yours truly laced in Louis. Broke niggas splash your whole stash, you'll never ever fool me. Back of the source book, watching fake Coochie. Cartier rings and things, you want the Uchi? Nick, little young thing, nah hoochie, the real deal. So real is what you feel. Vasquez boots and even in high heels. Thigh tutu, nickel plated steel. Bananas in clubs with bandanas. Fuck around, pop slugs, cock hammers, diamond mob, thug asses in Pampers, Queensbridge, real shit, that's what I stand for.
It's a thug party, get the Henny and drum, crack them Phillies, this is how it's gon' go. Drink a little, smoke a little, floor she get, we reppin' QB and we up in here. Thug party, yeah, thug party, yeah.
Goddamn, the club is packed, the party is pumping and jumping. Tonight I got a rape rib something. In the club, in the truck or the tub. And I ain't fucking with no dimes, I'm only fucking dubs, okay? These Queensbridge niggas don't play. And these Queensbridge bitches hold weight. And we hold guns. And most of y'all niggas hold none. And right now we got them up in the...
Yeah, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, a little fun fact about that record. The girl on the hook, beautiful voice. That was a 14-year-old girl singing that. Of course, parents' approval and all that. And she was cool with everybody from the hood in Queensbridge. But she was 14 or something like that. Mad young, you know what I'm saying? Beautiful voice, man. I hope she went off to do something because I ain't never really hear much about her. But she was dope, man. You know what I'm saying? And another fun fact to that record is if you see the name of it, Thug Party. Think Gangsta Party. So it was kind of like the East Coast response to Gangsta Party. Yo, Queensbridge rappers were very competitive. You know, they went back and forth with the West Coast, if you recall. You know what I'm saying? They weren't scared of that situation, so they were very competitive. But this one was done in a spirit of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Just to be competitive, and they did the thug party because, you know, West Coast had the whole gangster thing. When it came to the East Coast, it was about the thugs. So that was the thug party, kind of like a fun response to that. The interesting fact to this is this. Drawers liked it that I did the beat with a West Coast vibe. So notice the innuendo in there. Gangsta party, West Coast record, thug party response. Look, it's always some subliminal thing being done behind these records. See, I'm sharing some things with y'all that y'all would have never known about. You know what I'm saying? If I didn't share this. So again, rest in peace, Drawers, man. There's some more records I don't have access to that I'm trying to get access to. So I will play for you guys another time. But in that same studio that Ray Cohn and I did those records, that particular record, there was another record, and I'm gonna close out with this. That was done. Because I ended up doing some work with Lakey the Kid. If y'all know who Lakey is, if you don't know your hip-hop, Lakey was another Queensbridge artist who did his thing. He was on all those records I mentioned, the Queensbridge album, the 41st Side album. But Lakey also ended up signing a deal with Suge for Death Row East, you know? Suge Knight and them, right? So that was the last major situation that I recall him being involved in. Nowadays, Lakey doing what Lakey does, right? But only to say, in that same studio, I ended up working with Lakey for his album that he was working on at the time. You know what I'm saying? Again, I did a quarter of that album, or at least I did the 4 songs. So I had this thing where when some dudes brought me around, man, they'll take at least 4 to 5 beats from me. So this is a record that was that we did, you know what I'm saying, around the same time, 2001. It was put out on a mixtape to create a buzz. And Lakey is a dope guy. You know how everybody give Jay-Z or Biggie praise for not writing their rhymes? Or like they so amazing. That's nothing unique to them or exclusive to them. We got in the studio, man. Lakey literally just got on the floor like he was praying, kneeled down, and rocking back and forth. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, what are you doing? We supposed to be recording. We supposed to be working. Oh yeah, he was working actually. So he's literally writing his rhyme in his head. Short moments later, he gets in the booth, boom, did his thing. I said, oh damn. And that was before the whole Jay-Z don't write his rhyme thing was sneaking out there or talked about, or Biggie ain't really write a rhyme. He just said it off the top of the head. But I say that to say, many other people do that. But you don't hear it because everybody like to focus on one person and give them praise for certain things. But Lakey, that's how he wrote, man. He ain't had to write his rhyme, man. He did what he did. So this record was longer. It had another artist on there, A-Dog. So I'm just gonna kind of play Lakey part and just to let y'all see, and then we go wrap this up, all right? So it's just the story that I have to tell, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all hear me talk on this podcast, sometimes I'm not always here to name drop and all that, because I did what I did and I loved it, and it's part of my history. So, as y'all listen, y'all probably get to hear more. You know what I'm saying? Here's some more records that I've done and so on. You know what I'm saying? So this is one of those. Check this out. This one is called Live It Up. And I'll see y'all next time. Look, I got L coming up because we got to talk about the dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got to let the people hold his L. A lot of things that be happening around us, it ain't cool. So we have to disapprove with the thumbs down and hand it as a loss to us out here in this world and the culture and the society, all right? So until next time, L coming up, but see ya.
We call us on Live It Up. Shout out QB. My man Super. Whole 41st side, you know what I mean? Lake Entertainment, you know what it is, kid.
On the strap of who we be, we
lives it up.
Something tasty, wanna jump, we hits it up. On the grind, getting dirty, straight up and up.
Beside the boat right, what up?
On the strap of who we be, we lives it up. Something tasty, wanna jump, we hits it up. On the grind, getting dirty,
beside
straight
the
up and up. Bubbling up, hustling what?
Whole QB, baby.
On the block, get it crunk. Some shorties on the grind, give it up.
Oh yeah.
Niggas don't run from me, get the pump.
DJ Axel, it's whatever niggas.
My potentials are measurable, temper terrible. Lock on your neck like a red nose and berry.
This is serious right here, man.
Bars too controversial for the stereo. No no clean versions. I was laying in the cut, now I'm re-emerging. Put a hurtin' on y'all niggas like dick diversions. When it's time to drop your curtains, I'm lifting bourbons. In the midst of the shit now, I'm sick of observing. Chasing cake with the hunger of a savage ape. Who tastes blood but hasn't ate in the last 4-8. Bang you out like a life in downstate. Screwdriver with the handle taped up. Let's see who's lava. Dying is for the weak, the heat is for survivors. The difference just for street punks, the Glock is for suppliers. QB breeze, wild seeds and live wires. Tie you up and slowly take your teeth out for pliers. On the strength of who we be, we lives it up. Some tasty wanna jump, we hits it up. On the grind, getting dirty, straight dubbing up. Bubbling up, hustling what? On the strength of who we be, we lives it up. Some tasty wanna jump, we hits it up. On the grind, getting dirty, straight dubbing up. Bubbling up, hustling what?
Like Napoleon, how I move all my homies in and start niggas for dope. Throw them over the bridge or whip them with 40 Cali for running their mouth about me. Say it proudly, fuck any nigga that doubt me. I'm a king, but I don't dream, I live it. Lynch niggas and queen bullpens to be remembered if giving up life's the price for eternity. I'm not a legend, cause I ain't letting no nigga murder me. I needed these scars that time couldn't heal, cause now they remind me that my past was really real. Feel butterflies, been to the other side. Know what it's like to not wanna live but can't die. Cry for motherfucker, listen up little brother. I don't wanna, but I will bust at your fat mother. At a church and bloody up a person shawl. All y'all who doubt me, lick my balls.
On the strength of who we be, we lives it up. Something tasty wanna jump, we hits it up.
Yeah.
On the grind, getting dirty, straight dubbing up.
You know we get a new shit first, man. DJ Absolute.
On the strength of who we be, we lives
straight
it
from
up.
Queens, baby.
Tasty wanna jump,
The Queens Bridge.
On the grind,
Yeah, I mean, straight bread right now, man. What up, Playboy?
The killers on the block, buck shots at the police.
Okay.
Roll deep, gold Jeep, chrome heat, toast drinks. Slowly to be lamping in the Hamptons. I trap in my grams with road maps and scanners. Target practice on posters up a tacky and San Miguel with hollow tips.
This podcast is brought to you by Unseen Product. Produced, recorded, and edited by producer and mix engineer Unseen. Thanks for listening.
Unseen Product.